Today on the table, I brought you the XM177E2 and the AKM Romy G. Now, if you're considering buying one of these two rifles, you've come to the realization that customizing AR-15s is fun and all, but it just lacks that special something. Because you bring your custom AK to the range or something like that, and you put it on the little rifle rack, and you're like, oh, check out my AR. There's like 10 people that, yeah, I got about 10 ARs I shot the parts cannon at. Or maybe you're just into iron sights, and you want something a little bit closer to when iron sights were popular. In either case, it doesn't really matter. The point is you want an older rifle. Or maybe you just grew up when the dinosaurs were alive, so you want a rifle that was used back then. A couple of different options for retro rifles is obviously you could go American. Now this particular rifle is popular because this was the Vietnam Special Forces rifle. Now it has XM in the name, which from what I understand this means experimental. If this was adopted by the military, it would just be the M177E2. But it doesn't, it has XM, so yes, it was used by the military, but it was never officially adopted. And then you got the Romy G. You're probably like, well, out of all the AKMs, why would I go with this one? This one is special because this was for the Romanian Guard. They stand out with a G on the trunnion, and they got a black band on the stock. Why it's special is because you can get something closer to what was actually used. Yes, you have to go 922R compliant. Yes, the receiver will be chopped, so regardless how you look at it, if you want an Eastern Bloc AK-47, it's going to be mostly American made. The only thing that's really going to be Eastern Bloc is some of the furniture, the trunnion, and if you're lucky, the barrel. Oh yeah, and the bolt carrier. But because of gun laws, this is about as close as you can get. Because they actually converted these to semi-auto for the Guard. They'll still have the auto mark on the receiver, and if it was a legitimate Romy G, there would be the hole for the third pin, but it would be blocked off and then the machine gun parts would be missing, which that's illegal for you to do, so don't, unless you want to spend a shitload of time in federal pounding in the ass prison. But anyway, this is pretty close. If you went with, like, say just a normal Romanian AK-47 or some other Eastern Bloc rifle, there are exceptions, like I think the Wasser 10, that was actually made just for America in the Eastern Bloc, so it's pretty close. The point is, one, Century Arms probably assembled it. Two, it's not the actual rifle because they would have been full auto. Where the Romy G, this would actually be a semi-auto rifle. So what do we got between the two? Which one is the better pick? Well, first off, the XM177 is about 2 pounds lighter than the Romy G. Ballistically speaking, the XM177 is superior in every way, shape, and form except for hard target penetration. The 7.62x39 cartridge drops below 2,100 feet per second at like 50 yards. Once a cartridge drops below 2,100 feet per second, it performs inside the body the same as a pistol cartridge. You don't get that big permanent wound cavity anymore. So after about 50 yards, this basically affects the body like a Magnum pistol. But it does have the weight inside the projectile to be able to just push through hard targets. It's like the little train that could.
Just kept chugging along. Chugga, 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 toot, toot.
So unless you're particularly looking for like busting through cinder blocks or shooting through some sort of hard target, past 50 yards, this has the advantage. Now it comes into sighting in the rifle. I can't actually even find out what calibration this is in MOA. I looked everywhere. Nobody seems to know how many MOA this slider takes it up every time. And that makes sense because this was probably calibrated by some sort of in a cave wearing sandals with a hand file. They didn't even sand the sides equal. So like the rear sight only touches on this side and it just floats above this side because they failed to make this level. And they don't even recommend sight adjustment unless you're more than 6 inches off at 100 yards. Now, maybe your experience is different, but my experience with AK-47s is about 3 to 6 MOA is what you should expect. That's right in line with a smoothbore shotgun using slugs. So, the accuracy on this just isn't really that good. Now, I intend on doing a bunch of shooting videos in that, but so far my AK videos aren't very popular. And I believe that's one, because it appears most AK fans are under the age of 21. 2, my audience is older than 21, almost majority. And most of the content I made is not suited for kids. It's suited for adults. So, unfortunately, a lot of kids don't watch my channel, so I really don't have a very big AK fan base. I'm still going to take this to the range and everything and do testing, and then we'll see what the accuracy is like, and etc., etc. But right now, it's just kind of put on the back burner because the first video I did on this is just doing horrible. Nobody's viewing it at all. Now, the sights on the XM177E2, I can find exactly what values I get when they're adjusted. I couldn't find the value between switching... I couldn't find the value gained by switching between the 2 peeps. So I just threw a caliper on it, and it gives me about a 20 thousandths elevation adjustment. Guesstimating, I'm sure on an M16 that was probably about 2 MOA. Because the sight radius is closer on the XM177E2, the trigonometry is going to change. So I'm probably going to get somewhere around a 2.5, 3 MOA adjustment. Obviously, I'll have to put the numbers into a calculator or talk to somebody much smarter than me, and then they'll be able to tell me how much MOA I get by just flipping this rear sight. And because this isn't an A2 version, it doesn't really matter where I zero this rifle for. I could zero one sight for 50, and now I have a totally different zero by flipping that rear sight. Because I'll be 20 thousandths higher. So then I can have 2 different zeros on here, and I can pick whatever the hell range I want. And this is exact. I know exactly what's going to happen by flipping this. I'm going to have a 20 thousandths gain, or I'm going to have a 20 thousandths decrease. And that's just not the case with the AK-47. I have no idea whatsoever what kind of gain I get by moving this slider. They're saying this is in meters. So roughly, this will be zeroed for 100, 200, and 300 meters. Do I believe that? No. What I'll probably wind up doing with this is just throwing on a 25-yard zero, because at 25 yards... my ballistic curve is pretty close. Like, I should be able to hit targets without even touching this out to like damn near 300 meters, which that's all right. Now, the AK-47 or the Romy G does have an advantage because it has a cleaning kit on board. That's really nice. The cleaning kit goes right in the stock. You got your cleaning rod right here. It's nice to be able to clean these. Your XM177 does not have a cleaning kit on board. Now, the XM177 does have an advantage because you can adjust the stock for 2 different lengths of pull. Now, this isn't a 6 position because they didn't use 6 positions back then. You got in and you got out. Out is a bit long for me, but usable. In is a bit short for me, but usable. So that's kind of nice. Both do use very quality barrels. You're looking at 4150 steel, chrome lined. This one's hammer forged. I'm pretty sure the Troy is hammer forged. I'll have to look into that and see if I can find out for sure. But basically the barrel, like in quality, is exactly the same. Obviously, because this is an American rifle and our machines are a lot better, I should expect far superior accuracy. There's a lot of slop in the machines. Like, for example, say you were going to do an AK-47 build, you can't just put a Romanian barrel on a Romanian trunnion. As their tooling wears out, their bore size changes, so then they will label them. I believe the numbers is 0 through 4, and then you gotta get a corresponding barrel to be able to slide into that trunnion. The actual cleaning of the rifle, the XM177E2 is far superior. This is a much easier rifle to clean. The AK, if you practice at it, yeah, you're gonna get good. But there's just a lot of parts in there. They fit together weird, and you gotta kind of have to know what you're doing to be able to go through the cleaning process of this very easily. See if I can get this stupid thing back in there. Huh, Yahtzee! Ergonomics. The AK isn't bad. It's not ideal. So this is your safety selector. Obviously the full auto mark is fake. So what's going to concern you is all the way up and all the way down. Shooting this, you have to actually break your hand position and flip it. Some people can just go up like this. I'm not able to do that. Except for going on safety. I guess I can, but it's just faster for me. Instead of trying to do all that stupid shit, just to come up, flip it down, and then go back on. Magazine changes. This is that stupid fore-end. I swear kids in high school could have done a better job on this. It looks ugly. It's in a bad position. It's not far enough forward for me. I'd either want it up here so my arm's more comfortable, or I just want to do a mag well hold. Anyway, the screws with your mag changes because it stops you from being able to come farther forward. So they are a little bit difficult. With practice, you'll get better. And as this receiver wears out, the magazines will go in easier. Because all these parts are brand new, they're really stiff. It does change with time. Charging the weapon, you can come over the top or do something like that. Maybe come underneath. I think it's just easier to go like this. I mean, do what you want. Ergonomics on the XM177. Magazine comes out, it goes straight in, push till it clicks. Give it a little tug. Charging the weapon, bolt release, safety. Everything's designed so your hand never leaves your pistol grip. It's always right in the shooting position, right where you want it to be. The sling on the XM177, yeah, you could put on a newer sling. It does have your sling mount. That is good to go. Unfortunately, we're looking at retro rifles here. So you want it as close to what they actually used at that point in time. And this is what they did. They took a belt, some paracord, boom, now they got a sling. It's not ideal for me. I mean, it works, I guess. I mean, I could use this. This is doable. On the Romy G, I like the sling positioning a lot better. It just fits me better. Now, this is actually a Polish sling. This isn't a Romanian. I am going to get a Romanian on here, but it's not on here yet. But I just like to have them slung like... Come on. Should have probably adjusted this to fit me before I shot the video, but it happens. Like when I hunt with an AK and that, this is how I got it slung. I find it easier just to go like this. It works really nice. It's where I need it to be. I like this sling better. As far as abuse that the rifle's going to take, this is all steel. As we all know, steel rusts very easy. Yeah, the barrel's treated in that, but not very well. And it's still steel. We got aluminum and plastic. The only thing that's steel is the brake, gas block, barrel, trigger, disassembly pins. Those are your real susceptible spots for rust. Everything else, this is very rust resistant. This can handle a lot of neglect, a lot of abuse. Now, if you're all into fast shooting, that's great. That's not really my cup of tea, but the one that's going to have the advantage, because the AK piston system is over the top of the bore, when you shoot it, the rifle wants to go like this. So that is something you have to compensate for when you're shooting quickly. The piston system on the XM177 it's right here inside the bolt carrier. Your gas comes through, it pushes on the gas rings. This is your piston pushes forward. How that gives you an advantage instead of having a piston system over top, so it would push right here, so you'd get a push on the top, which would push down on the stock. The piston's right here, and it's pushing backwards, so it's all in line with the recoil. Everything is in a straight line. So shooting this, if you're good, it's really easy to keep it on target, and you can shoot a lot of rounds really fast without having your sights move around too much, because everything's coming straight back. So that's one force you have to worry about. With the AK, you have the exhaust coming out of the barrel, so that's pushing straight back on this line. Then you have the exhaust coming up into the piston, which is pushing right here, so you also have another force pushing down like this. So you have a lot of forces you have to compensate for. Like I said, your rifle wants to do this. Yeah, there's people that can run these like a beast. I mean, just look at Grand Thumb. That guy runs an AK like a god. Way beyond my skill level, and he makes it look easy. Well, a lot of practice, yes. You can get good with an AK-47. Now, let's say you were to take that same exact practice you were going to apply to the AK-47 and put it on an XM177E2, you will be exponentially better with this rifle. One of the biggest problems with the AK-47 is the ammunition. Your standard, cheap, mil-spec, run-of-the-mill AK ammo. It's a steel case with a bimetal bullet. A bimetal bullet, it's a steel bullet, and then they just put like a copper paint job on it. I mean, that's not really the right way to describe it. It's called a copper wash. The point is there's not enough copper on there to protect your rifling from the steel. So you're basically putting steel on steel. So you're going to wear down your rifling relatively quickly. You're going to lose your accuracy relatively quickly. Your standard run-of-the-mill military surplus ammunition is a copper jacketed bullet. No steel touches the rifling. It's all soft metals. So this is going to have a much higher life expectancy if this wasn't a hot round. The 223 is a pretty hot round, and I wouldn't call them barrel burners, but they do put a lot of stress on the rifling. Let's say this was a 7.62x39, and I'm shooting just copper jacketed bullets, and I'm also doing the same thing with this. This rifle would blow right by it. A copper jacketed bullet isn't very hard on your rifling at all. A bimetal bullet, that's hard on your rifling. Not to mention, they also decided to change or twist this, make this a 1.7 twist. Yeah, that's great in the tactical community, like, oh yeah, the military uses the 1.7 twist, so I want a 1.7 twist. But a 1.7 twist reduces your barrel life by quite a bit as well. This rifle originally had a 112. I would have brought this rifle home by now and done testing with this if this had a 112 barrel. But with a 1.7, I just don't want it. And it's made, your 1.7's made for really, really heavy projectiles, like 77 grain and up. I have no intentions of feeding a rifle like this that kind of expensive ammunition. It would be 55. Could this shoot 55? That all depends on how well Troy can make a barrel. Accuracy, it comes more from, the quality of the barrel than the actual twist. But now let's say this had a 112 barrel and it was quality manufactured, this thing would just be a tack driver. Unfortunately, it's got a 1.7. Another reason why this never came home with me is the finish on this. This gray, beautiful finish, this retro-looking finish, is not on the inside of the receiver. This is a black receiver, and they didn't even take the time to finish the inside of it. Wasn't happy about that either. Then there's other little things. Well, I should say one big thing, which obviously the barrel twist. They got the wrong handguard on here. This is like a car that a body shop guy that doesn't really know what he's doing does it, and he didn't actually replace panels, he just used a bunch of Bondo. From a distance, this looks like a very accurate clone. But then you get close to it and you're like, oh, hey, you know, it's got the wrong handguard on it. Then you crack open the receiver and you're like, oh, it's got the wrong finish. And you're like, wait a minute, there's M4 feed ramps on here? They didn't even exist back then. Then you run a cleaning rod down the barrel and you're like, what the shit? This got a 1.7 twist barrel? Realistically, this is not a very accurate clone. Yeah, when this first came out, this ruled the market. This was the most accurate clone you can get. Brownells is catching up with them. I have asked for a Brownells rifle because I believe by now they should have passed them. This isn't as accurate as the Military Arms channel described it as when he did his video on this. Yes, it does have the original pistol grip, sling, and stock, which is really awesome. But there's just too many permanent, non-accurate things about it, like the receiver finish. Who's gonna go and get that receiver refinished? No, you want to buy it already done. The barrel being wrong. Really, like, that's one of the most expensive parts on that rifle. You're not gonna go and buy a new barrel. The accuracy on this is about as legally as you can get it. I mean, this will get the right sling eventually, and the receiver will be color matched to the upper. But this is a pretty damn good, accurate clone. So out of these two rifles, which one would I pick? Now, let's say I wanted the most accurate cloned rifle as possible. Yeah, without a doubt, the Romy G takes the cake. I mean, this is far, far, far more accurate than the Troy. And an AK-47, in my opinion, isn't what I would call a combat rifle. Yes, don't get me wrong, it can double up as a combat rifle. It really can. But the disadvantages it brings to the table at the weight the rifle is, if this shot a 308 at 8 pounds, that would be a different story. But we're talking about an out-of-date, ineffective cartridge past... I shouldn't say ineffective is the wrong words. A cartridge that doesn't really perform that well past 50 yards. The ergonomics, this would be more like a rifle I would put on the wall next to my M1 Grand, SKS, 1903 Springfield. Yeah, I could pick it up and run it. I could go to war with that. But that's not the rifle I would reach for. This rifle as a shooter, this would be great. Unfortunately, like I said, the receiver wasn't color matched properly, so if you get any scratches on this, or when it starts getting wear, it's going to have a big black mark, and you're going to be like, whoa, that doesn't look right. Other than that, like, as an actual shooting rifle, this is a better setup. As an actual clone or collector rifle, no, that is not the rifle you want. This would be the rifle you want. Now, say you only plan on doing really, really close range engagements. Yeah, this would walk circles around that XM177. Say you want to do engagements past 100 yards. This is definitely going to have the advantage. With this shorter barrel, I believe this holds over 2,100 feet per second, all the way out to like 250 yards. It's really awesome. The Zero on here, I trust the Zero. It's more reliable. When I get this rifle, I'm not even going to screw around with the Battlefield Zero. I'm going to throw a 25-yard Zero on right there, and then if I need more elevation, I'm just going to bring it up. But chances are it's going to go 25 yards, and that's where it's going to stay. We're talking about a 3 to 6 MOA rifle. Screwing with this sight really isn't going to get me any more on target than the cartridge allows me to. So anyway, yeah. This is what I would pick as a rifle you actually intend on using. This is what I would pick if you're actually collecting the rifles. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to check out any of my other videos, click on the links up here. If you'd like to help support the channel, you can always click on my Patreon or go into the description and I have affiliate links. You don't even have to buy what the link is for. You can just go in there and do your Amazon shopping and buy crap you were already going to buy. And I get a little kickback for it for sending you to Amazon. Don't forget to subscribe.